America, my name is Osei-Frimpong, and today we're going to talk about healthism. And healthism concerns the things we do and the public policies we enact once we elevate health as a good, more important than, say, freedom or self-determination, right? So what happens when health becomes a lodestar and we're supposed to do anything at all to avoid being unhealthy in any way, right? And we're supposed to enact any sort of policies publicly that will keep us from getting unhealthy. What happens? Well, it's bad. It's bad. And we're starting to see healthism a little bit with Omicron. And by the way, I'm going to refer quite a bit to this paper written by Kukla. Who's a philosopher based out of Georgetown University. And it's actually, excuse me, just had lunch. It's a good little paper on healthism. And she starts out, it's a book review of this guy's book who says, look, we have local solutions to pandemic and pandemic problems, and, there's hope for the future. And then she lays out his argument rather well, and then she says, actually, this argument's naive, which it is, right? Because healthism is real, and the things people do for the sake of healthism, including close your kids' schools, are actually bad, right? So there was a worry before about, and I'm, going to vamp a little bit while people file in. There was a worry before about how we can't really make public health the important organizing principle because we can't force other people to make decisions. So the argument against something like Medicare for all or universal health care is well, I shouldn't have to pay for some person's diabetes because they couldn't stop putting down a donut. Or they couldn't not eat what they wanted to eat, or they couldn't exercise. I exercise, I should only have to pay for my health care. And so you don't want kind of totalitarian practices governing. If you have universal health care, you don't want other people deciding what you can and can't do to your body. But they're going to be able to do so insofar as if it raises premiums for everybody, they're going to they have now have a vested interest in what you intake, that we are a morbidly obese nation, which I think is a problem. I've always moralized food, and people some people used to think I was a little bit awful about it, but I moralize food. I judge you based on your ability to. I don't really judge you because I think a lot of these things are parents based. But I judge your parents based on your eating habits. I judge your parents based on your eating habits. And I say this because my dad was actually very good about this. He kept junk food out of the house. And that's no small thing. So I never really missed junk food, really. And with my kids, I just keep it out of the house. You want to come say hi to the people? Yeah, what's up? Okay. Well, we'll work on that when I get out. You're going to come say hi to the people?
People.
Hold on. Say hi, people.
Hi, people.
Hi, people.
Hi, people.
Hi, people. All right. So we'll work on your jump.
Why is it a stream, not a record?
Oh, it says stream because when we record, that means it goes and saves on my computer. When we stream, that means we talk to the people in the internet, in the YouTube world. Don't touch the microphone. Okay. Does that make sense? So you hit record, it goes to my computer. You hit stream, it goes out. Okay. All right, got it. All right, I'll see you.
Bye, people.
Bye, people. I'll see you later. All right, so healthism. When we make health, when we kind of idolatrize health, turn into an idol and worship it, then diseases are communicable. Then we start creating an imperative to start governing other people's behavior. Before, it was just diseases. We didn't worry about communicable diseases as much as we worried about socializing the healthcare bills. Now we have to worry about communicable diseases. So we actually have to have this talk about what healthism entails. It's not just, no smoking in restaurants and bars anymore. It's about masks, and I'm pretty much an anti-mask at this point because we've gotten hospitalizations down, and I was all about cases of COVID don't matter. Hospitalizations matter. So if you get a vaccine, if you're vaccinated and you're not like morbidly obese and you're not, so you don't get hospitalized, then like the pandemic isn't about you anymore. So get your vaccine, like stay trim and get your vaccine and live your life, right? And we should help people get trim and get their vaccine. But for the most part, as long as hospitalizations stay down, I need people to live their life. I definitely don't need you closing her school. Because and you know, she's a violinist, so like I don't need you shutting down her concerts or like all of these civic infrastructure. So what happens? What happens when the people who have mind disease, and that's like the healthists who are sick in the head, who have a mental illness about COVID, take over public policy? And it's always liberals who are like anything goes when they're doing well, but as soon as like they get uncomfortable, they become totalitarian really quickly because they don't have any like sense of discretion. So what happens? What happens is we shut down public infrastructure, the public ways in which people like realize themselves through institutions. So we shut down schools and we shut down parks. And then the wealthy people or the people who are connected, they can buy their services a la carte, right? They pick and choose. Right? So public parks and public buildings are now like mask and resistant mandatory. But then private parties and private schools and private tutors, those will be like, well, you know, we don't really wear masks here. And like, we'll trust you and be responsible for your vaccination status. Yeah. So that's what happens, right? So what happens is you de-democratize like institutional relations. Because now the people who actually need institutional relations and who have money will be able to actually, it serves as a power grab for them because they can buy their services a la carte, right? Our county last year, our county last year shut down the schools for a year. The county next door, the white flag county next door, pretty much acted like COVID didn't happen. And you know what? Their kids learned, like my kids learned because I was at home teaching them. So like they went back this year ahead of schedule in a lot of ways, which is fine. But you have to understand that the county next door pretended it didn't have COVID and their kids got to do regular things. And that's important. The social and cultural infrastructure for the children is very important. And let's be honest, online schooling, I mean, I'll never put my kids in online schooling. Like I actually serious about my kids. So like I would never put my kids in online schooling. But make no mistake, online schooling is you're not serious about public education. If that's going to be your solution. So the healthists who are very quick to close down major institutions and minor institutions because people might get sick, those people are a problem for freedom. Those people are a problem for freedom. I feel like the Pussy Hat crowd and the Moms Demand Gun Sense crowd now finds a new purpose in COVID. And these are just not serious people who are very casual about like the conditions of freedom because they don't know enough. They just don't know enough about freedom, right? So, and in a pinch, they are the crew, since they could, afford to take off work and hop on a bus to go to Washington to wear their pussy hats. These are the people who will buy their institutions a la carte and have their kind of mass casual institutions a la carte, but then force everybody else. And that's just inappropriate, right? So we need to understand that COVID's not going away. This is the new normal, which means that if you're serious about like education, if you're serious about communication, the people who talk for a living, and even being seen, we need to just understand that like you're going to get a shot every year. We need to build that in your budget, or not, but we have to go about our business. Like, I'm not teaching in a mask. I'm not going to teach in a mask. Like, bring the cops. I'm not going to teach in a mask. Because what I teach very hard ideas. I teach very hard ideas that people don't want to already understand. If I do it in a mask, it'll just like give one more reason, one more way, and one more avenue for people just to not understand what I'm trying to say. So I don't teach in a mask. And then online teaching is just very hard. So if UGA shuts down and goes all online, I'm just going to take the semester off because I'll have to end up homeschooling my kids anyway. I'll just, write my dissertation here and homeschool my kids. And like, I'm not going to do it online again. Never again. I did it. I have an entire class online, an intro to philosophy and a logic and critical thinking class online. But I'm not going to do that again. It's not fulfilling. It's not a good use of my chi and my life force. I'll give this once a week for the people. And by the way, if you support me doing this, go ahead and go to www.funkyacademic.com and kick in $5, $15, or $50 a month, and I'll keep it going. I will keep it going. Because eventually that little girl you came in 10, 15 years, she's going to be sitting where I'm sitting, or at least in front of this backdrop possibly, and giving you the quality of wisdom you need to not squander your life. And she's going to learn it from me. And like other books and like, like instead of waiting tables in college, she might be the funky academic in her college, right? So, I think about this is going to be a legacy business, so build it up. Say you knew me when, and you knew her when, you saw her when, and kick in $5, $15, or $50, because in 10, 15 years, like, I pass this on to her, like, and this is how, like, she earned her way through school, which I think is perfectly appropriate as a summer job. She produces segments and then leads segments, and then I produce her, and then she does the whole thing. And like, yeah, I have 3 kids. Like, this is the family business, and thank you. So healthism, this idea that we elevate health as an idol, as a god, and then it becomes the case that we organize life to conform to health, this idea of health. In a way that's completely antithetical to freedom, especially when other people can get you sick. So it's not just your own health and your own drinking water. You're now controlling other people's behavior because they have the capacity to get you sick. Mind you, not put you in the hospital, but get you sick, which is 2 different things. I could be in favor of harsh mandates if we're talking about overflowing hospitals. But when we're just talking about people who are morbidly obese and or didn't get a vaccination going to the hospital, that's a different kind of pandemic. You don't shut down the world for that. You don't shut down. You do the kind of cultural interventions that helps people take care of themselves better or get to or get a vaccine. But you don't shut down the world for that. So insofar as Omicron's transmissible, but not like life-threatening. We didn't shut down the world for H1N1. You just washed your hands and hope you made it. And that's, I think, the appropriate. If we're a nation that actually cares about freedom, that's the appropriate tack. That's the appropriate tack, right? So, and then there's this guy who says that, like, well, what we can do is just trust local solutions and do it on a case-by-case basis. But like local solutions aren't particularly necessarily that great either. Local solutions are not particularly that great either. It's not like so what's going to be the problem? There are internally like racist, ableist, transphobic, all these things, they're internal to local communities in a way that, you don't get out by just saying like, well, we'll let local solutions decide what to do. You don't get around that, the kind of internalized, that's part of the life cycle of the local community, forms of racism, misogyny or misandry, heterosexist, transphobic, ableist. Like, you need actual real policies at a nationwide level to support communities. So you need a federal response. And you can't just like say like local leadership will do it. Because local leadership don't have the constitutional power. Right? If we're talking about like you need to be able to guarantee people a job, like my solution would be a federal job guarantee where you pay people, and if you can't find work for them, you pay them to stay home and quarantine, right? So like you have a federal job guarantee because we have so much work to be done. But if there isn't any work to be done, you pay people because you can't do it because we're quarantining. You have replacement income for the quarantine, right? But they still technically have a job. They could be called up, right? But there's already so much deferred maintenance that needs to be done outdoors that there's jobs to be done. Right, so I want a federal job guarantee. And there are some sort of solutions. And like building an infrastructure. People are surprised when I say that pretty much 15 miles in any direction from where I am right now, unless you're going towards Atlanta, I'm in Athens, Georgia, unless you're going towards Atlanta, 15 miles in any direction, you don't really have internet. You have kind of dicey internet, spotty internet. And if we're going to be a nation that's online all the time, then like you need to guarantee people both devices and access to internet. That means like ramp up productive capacity in terms of devices and laying down fiber. Those are jobs. Right? So we need to just think about what it means to live in a world. We need to think about what it means to live in a world with COVID. And we need to have the conversation. And don't let that crowd who has a mental pathology of like they think that it's their right to not ever get sick. A lot of white women. They think it's their right to not ever like have other people like make them sick. Like screw up your freedom. Right? Like the pandemic was about hospitalizations and ventilators. It wasn't about your right to not get a cold, not get a flu, not feel bad for a day or two or three. And you know what? Let me talk to you baby boomers. Listen, baby boomers, I know that you have a higher, you're more vulnerable than most people with respect to COVID. And you might think that means that everyone should accommodate you in your fragility. But I am not one of those people who I'm not one of those people who is, I'm tired of accommodating baby boomers in their fragility. Stay home, retire, open up the market for other people and let other people live their life. Like this is like I thought the time of my life where baby boomers were screwing up my freedom was over, but it turns out that they are so selfish, they might shut everything down because they are in a target group. And that's irresponsible. That's irresponsible, my kids. Like, just stay home yourself and let everyone else live their life. So it's not that the U.S. is ill-equipped to handle public health issues. It's the U.S. is ill-cultured. The U.S. is ill-cultured. Like, we don't have like a robust sense of freedom. And if you don't have a robust sense of freedom, you see these false gods like safety and health start conforming everything else, right? So like I was like, once again, and I can't say this enough, I will, like said baby, but I'm okay with lockdowns and shutdowns and masks when we were talking about ventilators and hospitalizations. Not when we're talking about like flu-like symptoms for a few days. Like that's not something you shut down schools for. That's not something you shut down entire economies for. That's not something you shut down cultural significant events for. Right? Yeah. So you have to worry about healthism. You need a strong sense of who you are. Local control is not going to help because you could be in a locality that everyone is mentally ill with respect to disease. They are easily triggered. They hear COVID, they just want to shut everything down and throw on 15 masks. And that's a problem, right? So the things we do in order to ostracize, humiliate, discipline, or police unhealthy members are going to be horrible. So let's just not do that. Let's just not do that. Keep our eye on the ball. And the ball is hospitalizations and not cases, hospitalizations and hospital capacities. And as long as those are under control, then we live our life and we kind of, we just make vaccines available, and let's stop pretending that masks are magic. Masks are not magic, right? We can't use the power, and I'm going to quote directly from the article. We will often use the power and rhetoric of healthism to control, oppress our own community members. So we need to not weaponize the concept of health to justify a variety of surveillance, control, subjugation, and discipline within the community. Because make no mistake, the people with means will just privatize these services. And so they'll talk a big game, but then privatize the services when it comes down to their own kids, or like when it's something they really want to do. Like you'll see a lot of galas where the help will be in masks, and the people who really matter will be smiling with their perfect teeth. Right? So in order to get rid of that, we just need a more robust conversation about what freedom means, and that you're not owed the right to not get COVID. What you're owed is the right to not be sent to a hospital that's overrun with COVID patients. Right? And if you're morbidly obese or you haven't gotten a vaccine, well, we need to offer you the vaccine and, set yourself up to live a life that's a little bit more healthy. And if you decide not to take the vaccine, or you decide that you're not going to get on a program to be more healthy, then these are choices you're making. And that's not something I'm going to let screw up my exercise of institutional responsibility and then freedom. Right? So, institutions are important for freedom, and let's not be casual about shutting them down. And don't let the healthists kind of, institute a false god, a theocracy. It's what we're talking about. Forget Sharia law. What we needed to worry about was like Fauci becoming a deity. And that's a problem. Right? So, and also don't underestimate, and I say this because the liberal Fauci worshippers, they aren't the majority, but they are disproportionately loud and entitled. And I'm going to read another part from the book. Don't underestimate the extent to which dominant or hegemonic groups control conceptual resources. So people will, even if it's not true, will start to think masks do something they don't, or that COVID is more serious than it is or less serious than it is. It depends. So don't underestimate the conceptual resources that have been captured by these Fauci worshipers, even when they may explicitly wish to cede control to disadvantaged groups. Quote, even when they say that oh no, this is a conversation, we're just sharing power. In conversations between powerful and less powerful groups, there's no clear way to keep the meanings of the powerful from disproportionately colonizing the conversations. Right? So I'm trying to give you the arguments to not be colonized when the Fauci worshipers try to institute their theocracy in the United States. We thought theocracy would come in the form of Christian nationalism, or we thought theocracy would come in the form of Muslim terrorists. But instead, theocracy comes in the form of Fauci worshipers. It's a quality of Scientology, if you will. It's a new Scientology, different from the old Scientology. Kind of like what Christian Science is to Christian Scientology. So it's a new kind of, the Fauci worshipers want to throw America into a theocracy, and I'm not down for that. All right, thank you for your time. I put the link to the article in the description. It's a really good article about these kinds of issues, and I will see you. I'm out of town next week. I will see you in 2 weeks. Happy holidays. And I'll see you in 2022. I don't know, maybe I'll live stream something from a laptop at the hotel. I don't know. But 2022, I'll see you definitely. And hey, look, if you like anything I'm doing, go ahead and kick down $5, $15, or $50 a month. Because, these Fauci worshippers, a lot of them are people who think that they are woke and pretend that they would hire me, but then won't once they see that I think that they're kind of like a problem. And so I need you to support me so that I can keep doing what I'm doing. All right? And I think it's good that I'm what I'm doing. All right? Take care, and I will see you in 2022, maybe next week, if maybe. All right.